make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
Yeah, well, first of all, your take on Jaden Springer is ridiculous. The dude,
Yeah.
after the heel trade, what are you talking, buddy? Heel.
All right, thanks for tuning back into the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Mobark, joined by
Jack Slaymaker.
And Jasinski.
We're going to go through the very uneventful trade deadline of the NBA season. I'm going to skip most of these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first one that I will decide to talk about, even though this isn't really big at all, is the Jaden Springer to the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of pissed me off as a Sixers fan because this was like the one stretch that I felt like he was actually contributing for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he clamped Curry, and now he goes to the Celtics, and we only got a second round for him.
Yeah.
And he's 21 years old, which I wasn't a fan of. He's not even really getting any minutes.
No.
So we basically just threw a player away for a second round pick, and we're not going to get the same value back.
Yeah, the annoying thing for me with that move is that we drafted him in the first round, and you get a second round pick back for him. I mean, you just didn't develop him the way that you needed to, or the way that you should have. And to be honest, we drafted him too high in the first place in the first round of that. I forget what number he was. I think he was 24 or 23, somewhere there.
That.
I think it was closer to 20 than it was to 30, but regardless, he was just drafted too high. He's not really a good player. I understand what you're saying with the contributions, but I mean, he like just can't dribble. He can't really hold a dribble for a long time in the half court. He's just not going to be able to play in the NBA. It was just a waste of a pick, and it's annoying that we didn't get anything out of it.
We can move to the Buddy Hield trade. So this was a 3-team trade. Sixers got Buddy Hield. Pacers got Furkan, McDermott, a second round pick, and then a second round pick 5 years from now and some cash. And then the Spurs got Marcus Morris, a pick 5 years from now in the second round and some cash. So, I mean,
it's uneventful. Yeah,
it's uneventful, but like we got like a spot up shooter.
Yeah,
and that's awesome. And he's been kind of meh so far, but like I'll give him a lot more time because we're just kind of like the Sixers are not really focusing on anything besides like the first round of the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, right.
Even though I think they should like cut the shit because they're like 7-16 without Embiid.
Yeah,
and they look terrible without him.
Yeah,
but Pacers really just dumped a contract essentially.
Yeah, and then they cut Furkan too.
Yeah.
They waived him. Yeah, it was honestly, I think the only team that benefited there was the Sixers, really. I understand that teams were dumping salaries and moving contracts, but I think the Sixers are really the only one that got anything, at least for the immediate foreseeable future.
I am seeing Killian Hayes got cut, signed anywhere.
I don't think so. Not that I've seen, at least.
No, nothing yet.
Yeah, that's a top 10 pick right there.
Yeah, that's kind of unsurprising for a lot of fans of the Pistons.
Yeah.
They were wondering why he was starting for so long.
Yeah, NBA Twitter has been flaming him for a while this year.
Yeah, well, first of all, your take on Jaden Springer is ridiculous. The dude was not playing that many minutes. Yes, he's a young guy, but the Sixers at this point need veterans.
Yeah.
And the second-round pick, Slay was saying, that's where he fell anyway. So it's not like you lost value. You just drafted terribly, which, shocker that the Sixers did that.
Yeah.
After the Hield trade, what are you talking? Buddy Hield has been the Sixers' best player.
Yeah, he's been good. I've really liked him.
What are you saying?
It's really hard to see when we're 7-16 without Embiid. It's really hard to see.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
He's averaging 20 points with them.
Yeah,
what else do you want him to do?
I'm going to make my real assessment on him when I see him with Embiid too. But for right now, I mean, he's obviously someone you want to move forward with. He's been great for us, like for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Maxey and Buddy Hield, the Sixers would already be in the play-in.
Yeah, for sure.
The fact that they're not at this point is miraculous, and a lot of it has to do with Buddy Hield.
Yeah, that's right. And none of it has had to do with Tobias Harris, because Tobias Harris has been a train wreck over the past.
He's not coming back.
Yeah,
so that's all right.
He has been a train wreck over the past 2 or 3 weeks.
The Sixers are 5th seed right now.
Yeah.
They are a half a game in front of the Pacers, which is the last team before the play-in.
Yep. And
the Heat are 1.5 games behind us, and they're the first. And then there's 7th seed.
Yeah, so we're getting in the play-in.
Yeah. The Sixers are being a play-in.
Yeah, the Sixers will be in the play-in.
There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be a playing team. But what I'm saying is that without Buddy Hield, they already would have been in that position.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And then the other trade that I really want to get to, because I think this was probably the most underrated one, with everyone saying how quiet the deadline was, Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks to the Knicks. That was huge for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I know that it's not going to get talked about as when Durant got traded to Phoenix, but this move with a very, very good young Knicks team to get a very good shooter in Bogdanovic, that's just going to help them.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, I was at the Sixers-Knicks game. To be fair, the Sixers were leaving him wide open, but he went on a stretch where he made 3 threes in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be really valuable for a Knicks team that you didn't really feel that comfortable outside of Jalen Brunson with a guy that can shoot threes. Now you have that. And I think that makes the Knicks a lot more dangerous than before the deadline. So if anyone won the deadline, to me, it was the Knicks by far.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. I mean, they're the only team that seriously upgraded their rosters with 2 guys that are going to contribute and make valuable contributions. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The Knicks, wiped it pretty much.
Did.
No one really upgraded that much.
I think the Pistons got okay value back. Quentin Grimes is solid, and Evan Fournier could be the veteran on that team, but they didn't really need Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic for the direction they're headed in right now.
Yeah. I think Grimes is a fine player, like you said, to keep on the roster.
Yeah, and I'm gonna scroll back up. Saw Royce O'Neal went to the Suns.
It's just like that moves no needles.
Yeah.
You know, it just really doesn't.
And the Suns gave up Yuta Watanabe. So
yeah, no needles have been moved.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the Sixers made a lot of trades. Actually, I do want to talk about the Patrick Beverley campaign.
Stupid.
Trey.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
No, I
He's
don't.
scoring the ball a lot better than Beverly, though. I get it from a morale standpoint.
And I think, not only that, I thought what Beverly was doing to the culture was different. And I think defensively, what he gives you is a little bit more important than what Campaign is going to give you shooting-wise. Don't get me wrong. Campaign has played well for us. But like you were saying earlier, it's when you're playing on this team right now, I can't really judge your numbers because your production is going to go way down when you have Embiid back in the lineup. And you're going to start seeing less minutes. I just think that Beverly would give you more valuable minutes, especially in a playoff series. That's just how I feel. I'm not really excited about the Campaign trade.
Yeah.
Campaign.
On the topic of the Sixers, this is exactly why I make 5-year bets with Brennan, because you see how bad they are without Embiid. There's no system without Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think him even coming back is going to fix it because everyone knows how to guard him in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the only thing that's different this year that he hasn't had in years past is a system that circulates around movement. Especially off-ball movement. And you have a lot of guys who can spray the ball all around. Batum is going to get serious minutes in the playoffs. You're hoping that Harris can get back on track with his shooting stroke.
He was really good at the start.
He was doing fine. And then, he's really fallen off a cliff. You're just hoping he can get back up. But, obviously Maxey and, Hield was huge. And like you said, Campaign is a good shooter. So in the minutes he's going to have to knock down the shots. Yeah. So I think that this team is built to be pretty good, but I think honestly at the same time, I think they're looking at next year as well.
Mm-hmm.
The trade for Beverly was definitely because they weren't going to bring him back.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint about that trade is that, and the same thing with the Buddy Hield one, yes, you got great shooters, or at least above average shooters in the case of Campaign. I think Buddy Hield is even better than Payne is. Who is going to be your guy making the stops on defense at your guard position?
Agreed, yeah.
Maxey is a great scorer and will become one of the better players in the NBA. However, he's still not a good defender. Buddy Hield's a better defender than Campaign is, but I'd say basically nothing. Beverly was the guy that was supposed to be getting you those defensive stops. Yes, he wasn't scoring a lot of points, but that really wasn't the point of having Beverly on your team. I think what the Sixers did was they looked too far ahead in the future and didn't wait to see if Embiid would come back for the playoffs, even 75%. And now you're in a position where if Embiid does come back, you can't really make a run that deep because you're going to make no stops on defense.
Yeah.
And unless your entire idea is to make Embiid your star defensive player and have him gassed at both ends of the court and then him get hurt again, like the Sixers have just monumentally screwed themselves without even realizing it. And it's unfortunate because I thought that if Embiid did come back, with the way that the offense is set up, if you trade for Buddy Hield and lose Morris, that's fine. But now you lost your best defensive guard, and there's really no way they can work themselves out of this one.
Well, the thing that I think they can, actually, because this summer, Harris's contract is going to be on the books. They're going to have a lot of space freed up to where they can actually hand out like a deal or two. Like pretty much split Harris's deal into two different deals for two guys. You know what I mean? So I don't think that they're screwed, but at the same token, you can't really have any more screw ups like you have had the last two summers. Like this is really it. This is your last opportunity.
I'm saying they screwed up for this year.
Well, yeah, but I think honestly, it's just like I think your chance folded when Embiid got hurt. Like you don't. Like you said, I mean, if you get Embiid 75%, I don't know what they could have done at the deadline to really have a fighting chance this year, even if Embiid is 75%.
But what I'm saying is that if Embiid does come back for the playoffs,
yeah,
now you have to rely on his defense more than you would have if you had Pat Bev on your team. And that's where I think they made a mistake. Where if they wanted to trade these guys for shooters, you needed to trade for a defensive guard as well, and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think the mistake was made.
I actually think the one guy they're going to bring in to get stops in the playoffs is going to be Ricky Council. Because he's really... I was battering my head trying to find a guy that could defend at the guard position, and I think he's like the only one.
Jaden Springer looked all right on defense, too.
Uh-huh.
That ship sailed.
Yeah, I think Ricky Council is like the only one, which you're not going to go very far if that's the case.
I see PJ Washington got traded to the Mavs.
Yeah, that was a good move, actually.
I like the move, actually, too.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hornets got Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a first-round pick 3 years from now.
Yeah.
I think this is a good move. The Mavs are playing great right now. PJ Washington's stats are really underwhelming since he got to the Mavs. Really underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Last 4 games, 9 points, 3 points, 12 points, 2 points, and over 28 minutes every game.
Yeah.
Inefficient shooting, but I think he will pick it up. And the Mavs are playing great, too. Like, they've gone on a tear with Kyrie and Luka. They click very well.
Yeah.
They play... Uh-huh. They're butter and bread together.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm looking forward to seeing what this will do in the future. Talked about the Burks trade. Thunder got Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
I like it.
That. If Gordon can come back healthy for the playoffs, that's a really good bench player to get.
Yeah. Veteran, great shooter. I agree. I think that's a good move for them.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from this deadline is that the Hornets have moved on from almost everyone.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they still have LaMelo, but they were hoping when they signed Gordon Hayward that would be someone that would make a deep playoff push for them. They hoped that PJ Washington would develop into a great player. And, I mean, they've been fine with the Hornets, but nothing where you would expect them to eventually get it together. I mean, Hayward at this point is a backup at the best.
Right.
So the Hornets have realized that the only way that they can move on at this point is to sell off and go through the up-team rebuild that they've gone through in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
I really wish we made a push for Bridges, honestly.
No, I don't want him. I think bad karma follows with signing people like that. Think about it.
Mike Vick.
Mike Vick was a little different than a lot of these guys.
I don't know about that. But,
well, the only reason is because he was accountable. He went to jail. I mean, he spent years in jail. He was accountable. He did stuff after, but none of these guys are accountable.
I mean, I guess.
Like, they make all these mistakes and then continue to defend themselves. Like, I think it only comes with bad karma.
So, wow, that was really underwhelming for trade deadline.
Yeah.
I did tell each of you guys to prepare your top 5
Yes.
players that you think will take over as the face of the league when LeBron retires. Which one of you wants to go first?
I'll start because I have mine. I'll run through mine quick. When you originally sent that, I was hoping to think of someone that isn't in the NBA yet to get in there, but I just made 5. My number 1 has to be Victor Wembanyama. I just think of anyone in the league right now, I think he has the highest potential, the highest ceiling. And then my number 2 guy is Luka Doncic because another young player who is ascending in the points total, which is kind of what LeBron was like at a young age like that. He's ascending in popularity. I think Luka Doncic is an easy pick to be in the top 5 at least, but I like him as high as 2. And then my 3, now this guy, I think I have a better player underneath him, and there are probably more, but my number 3 is Anthony Edwards. I think he has the personality to be a face of the NBA.
Yeah.
He has the confidence, and he flat out has the talent. I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. The only thing that hurts him is the market for now. I still think just based off of talent and personality, I think he's got to be in there.
I don't think they're built to keep him, though, long term.
Me too. Number 4, this is probably going to be surprising. And this one goes strictly off of talent, based off of where I think this player could get to in a couple years. Paolo Banchero.
I left him off and I thought otherwise.
I just really like his game. Another thing with the personality is that I said with Ant, he's got that confidence and the swagger. He doesn't talk necessarily as much as Anthony Edwards, but he has it, and he's very, very talented. I know Orlando seems like a small market, but if that team is good, it's a big market. Yeah. They're one of those cities. It's actually like Miami is kind of the same way, where if Miami is bad, it's a small market. Yeah. But if Miami is good, it's a really big market. So I think if Paolo Banchero can get the Magic success and ascend to like a top 5 player, I think he could be in that conversation. And then my number 5 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oklahoma City is the same way. They can be a big market when that team is good. We all saw how big they were with Russ, KD, and Harden in those days, and their fans always show out. So I think it's a spot where a player would want to stay. Like you were saying with Edwards, I don't know how long Minneapolis can keep a guy like Anthony Edwards. Yeah. Oklahoma City can keep a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and can keep a superstar of that caliber because it's a good area to be around, and it's always warm weather. Like, the fact of the matter is these top athletes, they like warmer weather most of the time and bigger markets. So I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has to be there because he might win MVP this season, which would change my list a lot. Yeah. But I think undoubtedly, Victor Wembanyama has to be number 1. I think he just has to be.
I understand. My list looks very different, but I understand.
Right. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so number 1, Luka. I think this is the no-brainer. I think he's the best player in the league. Right now, I'd put him over Jokic this season. I think like the last 2 or 3 years, I've been predicting him to win MVP.
Me too.
A sliver under, and I think he should have won it maybe a year or 2 in there. This is very obvious though. Like Luka, I will say probably other than Wemby, because I haven't seen enough of him yet, is the most talented player in the league. Yeah. He can do anything. You could count him to score 70 back-to-back nights. Honestly, I think that. I really believe that.
No, I don't agree. Or I don't disagree, I meant.
And I feel like he has the personality for it. Like, he's very polarizing. Like, a lot of people hate him. And that's good for, like, the face of the league, because a lot of people didn't like Jordan, believe it or not.
A lot of people
hate LeBron, Mahomes.
Yeah. Yep. Brady. You could run through it all,
yeah. And
that's a really good point.
Confidence, character, game, everything. Next, I'm going to go Ant. And that might
be your 2.
Yeah. Might be a little high, but I think the sky is the limit for him.
Me too, bro.
And
me too.
You're paying $500 million to your 2 centers, and I don't think you're going to be able to pay Ant sufficiently.
What he deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I honestly think he wants to see another team too.
I disagree with that. I think he wants to make it work there. I think he does want to. But can he? It's out of his control.
It won't.
Yeah, that I agree with.
It will not.
Yeah.
So
and it's out of his control.
Too, and another reason I'm picking Ant too is because he already gets like very mainstream like endorsements.
Yes.
Like he was in that Adam Sandler movie.
The
Like,
small market hasn't hurt him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very likable, and he could be Space Jam 3.
That
Like,
would be
seriously.
so great. Yeah.
I would love if
I
he
would
was
love
Space
that.
Jam 3.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Third, I'm going Shea. So,
Okay.
Shea's one of my favorite basketball players in all of the league. I think he is so talented. He has that confident personality. He has the Instagram captions. He has the style.
He's kind of that polarizing, too. I actually didn't bring that up with him. But
A little bit.
a lot
Not
of people
as-
don't like him right now.
I mean, I bet, because he sounds like an ass on social media.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. I like it.
Yeah, I think they're really built to be a super team, too. And it seems like the guys around him, like Jalen Williams, Chet,
Yeah.
Josh, I think they're all going to buy in and
all
stay.
on rookie deals.
Yeah.
For
And
the
I think they're going to figure it out, like,
Agreed.
who's going to take the pay cut.
Agreed.
Obviously, Shea's going to get
Yeah.
a super max,
Yeah.
but yeah, they got a lot there, and I think, like, it would be really good for the league for OKC to be the next super
I
team.
totally agree, yeah. They can't fuck it up this time.
No. And fourth, I'm going to go Giannis. And the only reason he's on this list at a low position is because I anticipate LeBron playing like 3 to 5 more years.
Exactly.
And at that point, Giannis is going to be like 32 to 34, maybe. So I think it's very possible he could still be playing at the same level, but
Yeah.
I'm just accounting for the fact that he might not be able to.
I agree.
5, Wemby. Only because I don't know a lot about him yet.
Mhm.
Like, as a person, like, I don't know his personality, if it's like the guys I named above. And I don't know, like, looking at the Spurs, I don't think they're going to be built to contend even for a while.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's another big thing for me. I think one of these guys has got to win.
Uh-huh.
Like, you got to win a championship in order to really be the face of the league.
Yeah.
And looking at every guy I listed, even below the Timberwolves, I'd say the Spurs have just zero chance of setting anything up for like the next 5 years. Honorable mention, Cade Cunningham. You talked about it, the market. Like, when that team is good,
Yeah.
that's a huge market.
Right. We saw it with the Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they really have something there with that team. Like, I've been saying, like, since they were like 2-40 or whatever they were, like, they are not nowhere near as bad as like the 10 and
I
72
agree.
Sixers.
Yeah.
Like, the best player on that team was Jahlil Okafor, and the best player on this team is Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
That is a different team.
Yeah.
And like, they could easily turn it around in a couple of years. They have the Thompson brother, James Wiseman, who I still think can turn it around. I still think he could turn it around. They have
Ivy.
I was mixing him with Durant up. Yeah, they have a
Durant
solid team.
too. Yeah.
Oh,
Durant's,
they have both?
Yeah. Durant's there. Yeah. They have
Damn.
Jaden Ivey and Jalen Durant. Yeah.
Yeah, they could be like a couple years behind the Thunder, honestly.
I agree. And another thing, like when you were talking about the market too, Detroit is a basketball city. They love basketball there. Like the same way Philadelphia is a football city, Detroit is a basketball city. So if their team gets good, the way that we saw the Lions get good this year,
Yeah.
that market is going to explode
Oh, yeah.
because that is a passionate group. So I agree with you. Like that could really help Cade Cunningham's case for face of the league.
I really am pissed I left Banchero out, though.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest. I went into this list. So my criteria, just quickly, I think LeBron's gonna retire in around 2 years.
Damn.
I think he plays 1 year, and then he wants to play with his son for 1 year, who right now is projected to get drafted in 2025. We'll play 1 year, and then I think he could still play another 3 to 5, like Jack said. I don't think he's going to, just because he's already done more than I think he ever set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be okay retiring in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I started out wanting to pick Wemby 1, but Jack, I thought you made a good point about character and personality. To be the face of the league, you really need to be a very extroverted type person. And Wemby, I had him at 1. I'm going to move him down to 2 and move Anthony Edwards up to 1. Because I think Edwards does have that personality. He's clearly a very good basketball player, and I think he'll only improve. So I'm going to move Edwards to 1, Wemby to 2. Shai, Gilgeous Alexander to 3,
Yeah.
Luka to 4, and then I have a controversial 5th one.
Is it anyone? We haven't said it yet. No one said it.
No one said it yet.
All right.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Tatum?
Yep.
That's a really good pick. He would have been like 6 or 7 for me.
Yeah, I kind of think we were all throwing him strays, but he needs to win. That's the thing. Like, he's had great teams.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aiden.
I 100% agree he needs to win. That's why I think this year is so important, because the Celtics right now are the best team in basketball. He is the face of the best team of basketball, which means that if they win, that just elevates him even more. And the fact that he's on the Celtics helps him a lot as well. Because the way that the league's always been, if you play for the Lakers or Celtics and they win when you're on them, you become elevated to a level that is above a lot of other guys in the NBA. So if the Celtics can win in the next 2 years before LeBron retires and Tatum keeps playing the way that he is, I think it's really easy to make him one of the faces of the league, if not the face of the league.
Yeah, it is a fair argument.
Totally, yeah.
I think it's funny how none of us mentioned Jokic because he wants
Embiid.
Nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Neither of them want anything to do with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Tatum is a really good one. Like, and again, we brought up Market multiple times, but I mean, Boston might be the biggest of them all.
Yeah,
especially for the Celtics. So Tatum, if he's the best player in the league on the best team in the league for the next 3 or 4 years, yeah.
He'd have to be it by default.
Yeah, exactly.
I also wanted to add for Jokic, with my criteria, by the time that LeBron were to retire, if it's only 2 years, at that point, Jokic is already 31. That's why I left Giannis as well off my list. Because anyone over 30, in my opinion, like, they can still play at a really high level, but these younger guys are going to outplay them easily.
Yeah.
And have a way wider range to improve, where Jokic and Giannis, their careers can only go down at that point.
Yeah.
Or stay flat, which at that point, your career's already in your prime. Like, Jokic's already won a ring, 2 MVPs. He could add another ring and another MVP, but at that point, LeBron's still playing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he continues that. Same thing with Giannis. I don't think that his success continues after LeBron retires.
I totally agree. And that you make a really good point, because when you're no one in the NBA wants to make a 30-plus-year-old the face of their league. So, like, you brought up Jokic's accomplishments. Like, I think if he retired today, he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so, like, he's an all-time great. But, yeah, face of the league, I totally agree with you. That's why I left him and a number of others in that category off the list.
He was in the Hall of Fame before he won last year, I think. 2 MVPs.
I agree. Yeah. I think getting the ring just cemented it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Because he's going to be in the running for multiple more. Like, you think about it, this year he's going to be in the running. Next year he's probably going to be in the running.
I don't think he's going to win again, though.
We'll see.
I just think their voter fatigue's going to set in.
Totally. But, I mean, I also acknowledge that if he puts up a season that is just undeniable, like, we will give it to him.
He'd have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys have anything else?
I think I'm going to lay off college basketball for now, because I think I want to get more into it next week, the week after, as like conference tournament starts heating up. So
okay,
I'll leave it out for now.
Wait, do you guys want to talk about the Duke court storming?
Oh yeah, I guess we can mention that real quick. I mean, first off, like, obviously I'm the biggest Duke hater you'll ever meet, but it's just it's sad that happened to him, and like there's a lot of stuff going around that he was like attempting to push the fan. I don't think he was trying to push the fan. I think he was trying to clear his own path, not necessarily push that guy, but clear his own path, which is not wrong. And they collided. I think it was just an accident on both ends. And I love court storming. I just love it. I wish it could happen in the NBA. I understand that it can't, because the athletes are just too big, too popular for that to happen. But for college, it's something that is like so like endeared to the college game. I love court storming too much for one incident like this to stop it. I think people just need to be more careful. I think we need to get the opposing team off the court before we necessarily allow the floods to incur on the court. I think maybe that's the route they go. But court storming ban? No. Come on. No.
Yeah, I don't think you can ban it, but I also think it's really hard to control it as well, which is what you're kind of proposing.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's where it becomes a little bit tricky, especially when you involve a really good player like Kyle Filipowski, who is considered a star player in the NCAA, even though, I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but 5 years ago, he's not considered one of the best players.
Yeah.
Now he is. That's just the way that the NCAA has gone. We talked about that a little bit last week. And I think that when it comes to protecting your star players, you have to be a little bit more careful. And I understand that it was a really big moment for Wake Forest and the fans wanted to celebrate. But at the end of the day, you have to also be responsible as a fan to make sure that when you are celebrating, to get out of the players' way. And if you don't, there has to be some sort of repercussion.
Yeah. The fan. Keep going.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there has to be some repercussion. Hopefully it doesn't come down to banning court celebrations, but if it does, I won't say that it wasn't necessary, especially if another star player or big name was to get hurt.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with that. And the other thing is with fan responsibility, you cannot go after the other team's players. Go celebrate with your own players. They're there to celebrate with you. But you do not go after the opposing team's players or coaches or anything because, the one saying that is, so true. I think Russell Westbrook started it. That was, if you see me on the street, you would not say that. Yeah. You would want my autograph or a picture. You would not say that. So when you're on the court, storming the court after your team wins, you don't do it either. Mm-hmm. So you need to let the opposing team get out and you celebrate with your team.
Yeah. I think it's scary shit for opposing players.
Yeah.
And I do think he was trying to push that fan out of the way because he maybe thought he was coming in aggressive.
Maybe, yeah.
So it's scary. There was a whole row of people running at you and you're just trying to get near the scoreboard table. I don't know. But I didn't like how the Duke coach handled it. Ban it. No, just don't lose to unranked teams.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I understand how hard it is to win on the road in college and all that. And I also understand Duke's crowd is never going to storm the court. Mm-hmm. There's just no need for it. Duke is too big of a program for them to ever really inquire a court storming. So I understand that, but I think the Duke coach has to be a little bit mindful. Wake Forest is not a program like that. Honestly, for a lot of those students, this might be the only time they ever see their Wake Forest basketball team beat Duke.
Yeah.
They're going to be really, really, really excited. I also understand the fact that your player got hurt. Like Aiden said, the players need to be protected. Whether you're a star or not, you need to be protected because there's no place for a fan to injure a player.
Yeah.
Cause an injury on a player. There's no room in that for the game. I understand that aspect, but yeah, I agree. I don't think that banning court storming is the answer. I don't.
This might be a stupid take, but I feel like there's enough of an interval from when the buzzer shoots for you to run to the scoreboard table. I'm not saying it's his fault that he didn't get over there in time. But
he wasn't hustling though.
No, you need. If it was me, I would get the fuck out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, it's and we're not trying to victim blame.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but yeah, you definitely make a point there.
Yeah, I think in my mind, it's just really hard to process all that so quickly because first of all, you're going into that situation as the ranked team, and you lose a really heartbreaking game. My first reaction when I lose isn't, oh shit, I need to get off the court before I get run over.
Yeah.
I'm still processing the loss.
Yeah.
And as a coach, I don't think I'm telling my players, hey, if we lose, we need to get out. Because one, then you're saying to your players, oh, we might lose this game, which you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And second of all, I don't think as a coach you can prepare your players for it. Mm-hmm. I just don't.
No, you can't.
I think it's just really hard. Outside of it, us reacting, it's really easy to say, oh, I would get out of there.
Yeah.
But I think when you go into the mindset of a player going through a really demoralizing loss, still wanting to process that aspect of it, and then seeing a bunch of people start running at you, and again, you're hoping that they're just there to celebrate, but you don't know everyone's intention, right? Mm-hmm. If you see 1,000 people running at you, there might be 5 or 6 people that want to do harm to you, and you might have to try to protect yourself, which is what I think Kyle did.
Yeah.
I don't, like you said, yes, in my opinion, he did try to push that guy out of the way. But I think that was a reaction that 99% of people would do if they saw a group of people running at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a justified reaction.
I don't blame him for that. Same way I don't blame the fans either. I don't think there's blame to go around. And I understand the Duke coach was very mad about it, and I get it. But I don't think you can blame one person or the other. I just think the whole situation gets a little bit stressful for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, I don't want to say ban court storming, but maybe you have to make it not as authentic, which would suck. But at the end of the day, that's more safer than having everyone running the court at the same time.
Yeah. And maybe here's a suggestion. I understand it might be hard for the team to change the student section, but either move your bench to next to the student section or move the student section to the other side of the court so that they aren't running straight into the opposing team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they ran straight into the Duke bench.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually unlike any other court storming I've ever seen. That literally was a flood of people. That was the fastest court storming in college basketball I've seen. Like, there's no way you can, like, honestly, maybe even if Kyle jogged off, he was still going to get hit by people. Yeah. And, like, even when he was hurt and his teammates were surrounding him, there were still Wake Forest fans coming up, like, taking videos in his face and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like they were going for him, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was going to get an encounter either way. Mm-hmm. And in-state rivalry, like, it's just, I understand there's a lot of emotions, but there's a better way to handle it, I think, for sure.
Okay, I think that'll cut it for this week. And we'll see you next week, and we'll talk about college basketball.